Hello and welcome to Mission Sports TV. This is the Locker Room. I'm Dave DeRocher and always joined by my younger buddy, Tim Vizzi. How you doing, Tim?
Doing good, Dave. How are you, brother?
Fantastic.
I'm scruffy, man. I'm like caveman status right now. You know, it's getting ridiculous.
I know that I think every other episode we show our COVID hairs. I think the next one, if we're still, you're doing it anyway. Yeah, I think we're getting close. We're getting close to a haircut, and so I don't know. I kind of like wearing a hat though.
Yeah, no, the hat is nice. I'm not complaining. I just got to make sure I don't run out of any of them. I think we're 5 episodes, 6 episodes in. I'm getting close to the edge here.
That's it.
Well, man, we got a special episode today. Brett was one of your fellow teammates at San Diego State and was fortunate to play in the league 7 years and, had some challenges. And he'll talk about those and we'll go into more depth. But I wanted to ask you, was there ever a time in your career or in life where you didn't have your priorities straight? And how did it affect you and what did you learn from that situation?
Well, much like what Brett's going to share is, and I didn't realize it at the time, was that I just didn't have my priorities set. Right. I grew up in faith. My mom, read the Bible every year. It wasn't until last year that I read Proverbs, because she has been telling me every year of my adult life, read Proverbs, and now I know why. So I always had faith, but I also always let my pride or me get in front of it pretty easily. I wasn't very, very aware of it. And it isn't until later that I look back at my football career and, I got there by the skin of my teeth by doing a lot of work. I was always, based on potential. See, hey, concussions. I'm going to blame concussions. Anyways, it was based on potential. And even being a 12th round draft pick, and getting up to Seattle was based on potential that I might be able to do something with my size. And then once I got there, it was like, oh, look at me. Look at what I've done. And then I played 2 seasons in Montreal and grew my hair long, and had braids and it was about, me being 6'7", 360 pounds and walking around the streets. And, I was not walking the walk, right. and God took it from me. I probably could have played. I know I had opportunities to go play in the league after the World League, and I made a decision not to, and I'm so glad I did. But on the other hand, I that probably would have kept going in the wrong direction with it. And so that was God intervening and giving me an out that I took, and it was beneficial to me initially until I got successful there. And I had much success. I got into acting, and I went to work for a company in a financial planning firm. And then for 20 years, I just continued to grow and grow and grow my income. And, that became important. And then it was, look what I'm doing with my money. Look at all the great deeds I'm doing. And not being humble, but being proud and having an ego. And then started getting sidetracked and fell into the trappings of the country club and having drinks and doing things like that isn't godlike. And I got to the point where I actually started praying, I don't want to be that guy. Right. I want to be the guy you want me to be. I want to walk the walk I should be walking. But I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing the work. I was asking God for help, and the one thing I learned is that God's he'll talk to you. And if I look back at the signs, there were signs. Hey, okay, so stop doing it, or don't do that, or don't go there because it's gonna get you in trouble. That burner's hot. Don't touch it, but I touch it. And so finally, what happened was I lost everything. Yeah. And it's just God's way of saying, okay, you want to be a knucklehead, do it with no money. Yeah. So, yeah. You know what, man? I got to reassess and sit back and go, all right, you got my attention. You got my attention. And, and since then, it's just been a complete blessing when you put your trust in God and your faith in God first, and then everything else second and comes behind it, and you keep yourself in check and in balance. So I know that's my story. I know you're young. Have you encountered any of the same experiences before we introduce our guest?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, God takes certain things away and puts you in a position where, you have no other option sometimes but to listen. And, like you said, there's a difference between listening and adhering and changing, right? So when you do get to that point and you finally do open your ears and you stop and you be still and you start incorporating those changes and keeping Christ at the center of your life, that's one of the things, the magic starts to happen, right? You gain that wisdom, you gain that insight, and you're changed forever. I mean, once you know the right way and you've seen it and God's proven to you time and time again, you don't go back and make those same mistakes. So absolutely. And thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah. And if you're younger, the way he's talking to you is by the people he puts in your life. They don't just appear by accident. Okay. And I can assure you that's maybe something hard to grasp. But when I look back, when I'm surrounded by solid people and I adhere to those people, good things happen.
Right.
And I can assure you that those are the ways that he's talking to you in circumstances and opportunities in your life. And if you're all right, then you're going to be able to take advantage of those. So, it's funny, it's amazing. Every time we have one of these intros, I think back, okay, this is the locker room. We're supposed to be, hamming it up, coming up, and then we do these in-depth conversations.
Yeah.
But, I think it's good. I think it's good for people to know that those of us that are, on all appearances, killing it and have had much success, have struggles.
Absolutely.
And we got to get through them, and we get through them with God. So, hey, so when we come back, we're going to have our guest, a fellow Aztec teammate, Brett Faryniarz, played 7 years in the league, primarily with the Rams and the Bass Round League, to share his story and his story of faith. He's a great Christian guy. So come back after you see our video. One other thing, Jim, we need to talk about, and maybe our next show, about what we're doing in our camps and the mission sports camps and working with kids. Actually, remind me, and next time we'll start bringing it up. But here's a little clip on what we're doing. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, and welcome back into the locker room. We have our guest with us. Tim, would you mind introducing our guest, please?
Yes, Brett, welcome. Played defense and an outside linebacker at San Diego State University. 7 years in the NFL with 3 different teams, mortgage broker, real estate investor, and now financial planning. And I think most importantly, a husband and a father to 4 boys. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tim.
Hey, Brett, thanks for joining us. So we have an Aztec locker room.
Let's go.
Brett and I played together, and Tim wasn't born yet. So, anyways, Tim, that's why I have Tim do the intro. But
Tim, when were you born?
I was born 91, 90s, baby.
91, right? That's my 4th year in the league.
Keeping it real. So it's fun to have the Aztec brotherhood. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But Brett, thanks for joining us. And we always start with our older, more sage veterans asking about just your childhood, because a lot of our viewers are young athletes, and give a feel of what it was like for you, how sports played a role, and then we'll take it from there.
Growing up, I grew up in Sacramento, in a big sports town. Went to Carreer High School, and at the time, my junior year, we were ranked as high as number 2 in the nation.
Wow.
And so, we had a football factory. So growing up there, sports was just inbred, and it was either you're going to run track, you're going to play baseball, you're going to do something. So I chose track and football, and excelled in that. Played baseball my whole life, but I didn't excel the way my brother did. I started in 8th grade, and we were the Cordova Jets, And I remember I was so new that I took a girdle and I put it on backwards, thinking that the tailbone pad was to protect something else. So, a lot of the other players, they'd already played a couple years and seasoned. And actually, the coach came up to my dad and said, "Hey, Brett's so passive. I don't think football is the right sport for him." And it was funny how the next year I ended up getting a season under me and then playing, but my dad's like, "Nah, give him time. He'll grow into his shoes." So it took a while. I was always undersized, so I had to scrap fighting every day against these bigger guys that were clearly bigger and stronger. So I had to figure out my niche. And in high school, I played guard. I played offensive guard because I was one of the bigger guys. Even as skinny as I was, you're laughing because you're one of the guys at San Diego State. State recruited me as an outside linebacker because clearly I wasn't going to be 240 or 50 pounds, which was kind of the minimum for a lineman. And so they transitioned me over to outside linebacker, and I ended up learning that position and growing in it. It took me a while, but it ended up being a position that I ended up playing in the NFL. So I'm happy about that.
Well, I will have to tell you that you and I made each other a lot better. It wasn't always a whole lot of fun. I think you accused me of holding more than once, and but absolutely, you were undersized, and it was easy for somebody to maybe underestimate you until you brought it, and you took a corner or put a spin move on. It was just like, okay, this guy's for real. And every time we strapped it up, we made each other better. And so
those were some good battles.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the spin move, it came about. I got cut. I told you before, I wasn't the baseball player that I was a football player. Well, my 10th grade year, I went out for baseball and ended up getting cut. This is how God works. Literally, I look up and I see a discus coach in the background. He's throwing, and literally right after I got cut, I saw him. His name is John Donch. I walked over, talked to him, and I said, "Hey, I just got cut from baseball. I'd like to throw the discus." He goes, "I think you'd be good at it." So that repetitive motion, that spinning, that helped me to develop a spin move later on at San Diego State.
I love that. Another sport and the correlation, athleticism just being an overall umbrella, and you can make that cross connection. That's pretty sweet.
Sure. And
I've never heard that. That's the first time ever hearing that.
Yeah, and it's one, you could look at it as a setback, getting cut in baseball, but it prompted me to go over, and I would never thrown the discus and develop that spin move otherwise. So because you have a failure or a setback in life doesn't mean that it's not God ordained. It means that, hey, I've got something better for you. Right. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
Well, talk about you got into the league as a late draft pick, and you faced adversity. You were used
13th round.
13th round. There's 7. There are only 7 now, right?
12. Tim,
we were 12 back then.
It was 12 back then. Okay, man, come on.
I didn't even know
your age, Tim.
I didn't even know that, to be honest.
That's all right.
Talk to us about being, you probably came onto the roster and faced a lot of adversity, and maybe a lot of people didn't expect you to make it. So take us through that, what that looked like and that experience for you and that inner turmoil and how you overcame that.
Sure. My senior year in college, I ended up having a decent year, got about 13 sacks or so, and I thought, because of that, I might get drafted. But I think maybe because of my size, I didn't. So, my agent called the Rams, and the Rams said, "Hey, we'd like to take a look at him." And so I ended up having to borrow a car. My car broke. It was a Fiat, a Fix It Again Tony. That's the acronym. So I had to borrow a car to get up to LA to try out. And I ended up running a 4.6 and show some athleticism. They needed a pass rusher. So I think they were willing to give me an opportunity. And when Dave said I was a free agent, I truly was. I was a free agent. I mean, I put the free in that name. We asked for a $500 signing bonus to cover the cost of repairing my Fiat. And I said, no. So literally my my signing bonus was goose egg. And, you know, I think I got a little bit more than the minimum salary, which I don't know how my agent negotiated that, but so I ended up getting signed by them, and they we had another guy, Livia Seni, and trying to think of the other guy that we had there. But Levi, he'd call me up and say, "Hey, Brett, you know, we have training camp going on right now." He goes, "You got to get up here." I said, I wasn't invited to training camp, or not training camp, but mini camp. And so my first day on the job was basically in August when we padded up. So I was, you know, brand new to the team, free agent. I had to, you know, after the first practice in Padzo, I told Richard Brown, he was another linebacker from San Diego State, I said, "I'm going to make this team." And he looks over at me and goes, "You're pretty confident." He goes, "I said the same thing last year and I ended up making the team." So I just, you know, I had more confidence in myself than probably I should have, but, you know, I think we have to, you know, and so I battled, put it all on the field every day. And, you know, I think it was ordained that, you know, I'd play in the NFL. And, you know, God really taught me a lot during that time. And it was basically, you know, I think I made football an idol of mine in hindsight. Looking at it, I put everything into football. I sacrificed whatever I could. And then, you know, God got a hold of me. And he said, "Hey, Brett, there's more to life than football. However, you know, you're in football for a reason." And then that really led me to make some major changes in my life to really adhere to, you know, how he had me be a God-fearing athlete in the NFL.
So is that pretty much when you came to faith then? Was as you were working your way through the NFL?
Yeah, you know, I didn't really grow up with any type of religious background. Always believed in God, believed in Jesus, but I went to a Catholic church for a couple months when I was dating this gal in high school, and you know, thought, "There's Jesus on the cross. I wonder what all that's about," you know. And then I got to San Diego State, and a guy by the name of Mark White came in and spoke to our team as a freshman in the off season, and he said, "Hey, if anybody would like to accept Christ and, you know, make him your savior." And I prayed the prayer, but for the next 6 years, I didn't really live like it. And, you know, San Diego State, a lot of time. And I wasn't really, you know, going to Bible studies and growing or anything like that. I just, you know, just heard what I liked and always believed in Jesus. I figured I was a Christian, you know. But I think if I had to put a date on it, a time, it was I ran wild my first and second year in the league, and I was, you know, doing a few things. I took back then you could take steroids and not get tested, and they didn't test for it until 89 and 90, and I think they enforced it like in 90. So, you know, I figured, you know, I want to take a cycle and gain my weight back. I'd gain about 20 pounds in the off season, and then during camp just lose it all. Mm-hmm. I just had this fast metabolism. So I was doing some of that. It got, you know, got to the point where I'm like, you know, Lord, I don't feel right about this. I feel convicted. And then I went to Choco Brensky, who was our chaplain on the Rams. And I just said, "Look, you know, I'm living my life. I'm running a little wild right now. Took some steroids. I've been out, you know, just whooping it up, you know, and trying to live a life. And I just trying to be a Christian or a professing Christian and you know, do the things that the world would have you do, just to, and so I believe that in 1989, I came to faith, and Chuck really took me under his wing and started discipling me and teaching me what the Bible tells you and the truths. And that's when I really started to believe and put it into motion. And my life changed. You know, I went off steroids, and later on that year, here's another story. Later on that year, the effects had all worn off. I had decided to go off of the cycle, and I felt skinny, and I'm like, you know, it was week 15 against the Jets. And I remember walking out on the field, seeing Chuck Obremski, and I said, "Chuck, man, I feel deflated right now." I said, "I don't know how, you know, we're making a playoff run. I don't know how I'm going to get through all this, but I just felt like, you know, I needed a boost." game I went out, I had 3 sacks, 2 caused fumbles, and a fumble recovery. I made NFC Player of the Week, and it was a God thing, because before the game, I felt deflated. I'm like, I feel all the effects had worn off, but it's like God says, hey, you don't need it. You rely on me. You'll either be in the league if I choose you to be in the league, or you'll be out. And I just decided, you know what, it's worth it. And for the next 2 years, I had, better year after better year. By 1991, I started in the NFL, and that was clean. And then I played through 1995. I felt I had better and better seasons, clean, steroid free, and living as I ought to.
Well, that's awesome. I will have to say, being in the league just for a short period, but knowing a bunch of guys, and I'm sure Tim does too, that is probably the most difficult place to come to faith, because there are so many worldly distractions, a nice way of putting it. And that's a really cool story. I have to say, though, when I heard the names Levy and Richard and yourself, so draft day, my agent anticipated I'd go around the 7th round. Well, when that came and went, I was a little discouraged. So the second day of the draft, there used to be 2 days of the draft, I went with my younger brother down to the playground just to go play some basketball. They didn't have pagers nor cell phones back then. And I was just being a kid, pouting. But Hudson House from the Rams was calling, I guess, blowing the phone up, asking my parents, hey, is anybody calling? And we want to take him, but we want him as a free agent. So I was a few picks away in the 12th round.
With me. Yeah.
I don't know, the way you and I battled, either both would have made it or we would have got each other cut.
Right.
I don't know. I guess if you made the team going against Jackie Slater, I guess you had to win.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Tim, back in college, during practice, they wouldn't take down their jerseys, so I'd grab them and cheat back then.
I mean, the trenches is a different ball game now. I mean, I'm a wide receiver by trade, so we're not trying to get hit by those big guys. But down in the trenches, man, it's a war zone. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to be scrappy and get to the quarterback, or protect the quarterback at any cost.
So for those of you watching and listening, we're assuming you know what we're talking about. Well, when in practice, there came a period, there was a one-on-one pass drill that the offensive lineman and defensive lineman would, by definition, go one-on-one. It's a completely defensive drill. Because, okay, there's a whole other inside story. Because they know it's a pass rush, so they don't have to read anything, right? They're just coming. Here's pinned and coming, and Brett came. Brett had some great speed. So here's a 6'7", Opie-Dove guy, 300 pounds, trying to backpedal as fast as a guy can run a 4.6 up field and stop him. So it certainly did.
You guys got to cheat off the line a little bit.
Okay.
Know the snap count too. Know the snap count.
Yeah, they knew the snap.
The snap count, big deal. Yeah, it's either 1 or 2. So hey, so talk about exiting the NFL. I mean, was it were you caught off guard? Was it something that looked like it was going to happen, and then when it did? Because there's 2 players. There's the ones that have been cut. There's the ones that will be cut.
Yep, absolutely.
What was your exit strategy, if any? And I do know that you've gone on to have a successful lending business and still in lending. But what did the end look like? How did you stay strong in your faith, and how did you transition?
We had some really good core Christians in the league, and we had Bible study once a week, and we'd fellowship around the locker room. So that was all good. I went from the Rams 4 years to the Falcons to the Niners, Oilers, and Panthers. So I went from team to team to team, and I without any guarantee that you're going to make the team. So you go 7 weeks of living hell. I mean, it was pretty rigorous to get through training camp. That was like a badge of honor back in the day.
Back in the day.
And so you just, you lay it on the line and for what, $500 a week or whatever. So I'd always try to negotiate, I'd get extra money each week during camp, just so that, I'm not going through camp and not having anything at the end. But I kind of got tired of just going from team to team to team, not knowing if I was going to make the team each year. And after 7 years in the league, 8 camps, I decided, I called my agent and I said, hey, after this season, I'm good. I'm ready to step down and call it a day and finish my degree and get on with my career. And so my agent did just that. He called Bill Polian and said, hey, Brett's done at the end of the season. So he went out and signed another linebacker. Then I had, a change of mind, and I kind of wanted to play again. Kevin Green was coming to our team, and I'm like, man, I'd love to come back and play one more year with Kevin. And by that time, they'd already signed somebody that, to fill my void. And so I was out and retired and went back to San Diego State, finished my degree in finance, and started working. And so I knew that it was the last year, pretty much because I dictated. However, I think both sides would, we both were finished with one another. NFL was done with me. I was done with the NFL, basically.
So, but one thing that you went on to do, and if you're not going to say it, I will, is that you went on to make more money in your professional career than you did playing football. I had the same experience. Some people looked at what I had and thought it was because I was in the NFL. And, gosh, I wasn't there long enough to make 2 nickels. And back then they weren't paying us that much. So,
Right.
When you went on to have that successful business and making all of that money, did that test you in any way?
What was the very part of that?
Did that test you in any way? Did you, or were you pretty strong in what you were doing?
I got into mortgage right away, and then I transitioned out into financial planning for a couple of years, and then I missed mortgage, the excitement of it, so I came back to mortgage, and I started my own company, and that was in 2001, and so right after 9/11 happened, the rates came down, all these different programs, not as a result of 9/11, but it was right around the the Clinton and Barney Frank got together and said, hey, everyone should own a home. And so they made these crazy different types of loan programs to that rhetoric. And it's like, not everybody should own a home. Only those who are responsible with their money should own a home. And they made some crazy loans. And I started my company on the premise that we would take these subprime borrowers and figure out how to resurrect them into a prime. But the market was changing. It was becoming all about toxic loans, and I looked at these programs coming out, and I'm thinking, how are we going to sustain this? They kept talking about the bubble this and the bubble that, and we had some great months. I mean, we did a lot of loans, and I think 1 year alone, or 1 month alone, I think I made more than I ever did in the NFL, and 1 year alone I made as much in my whole career in the NFL. And it was like printing money back then. It was like the Wild Wild West. It was crazy. And with that success though, I was looking at, this is another idol of mine. I was looking at money as that's my retirement, and that's my nest egg, and that's my net, and that's going to provide for my family and all that. But God took it away. I mean, he literally, when the whole mortgage meltdown happened, I had a home and investments and everything that just kind of came crashing down, and it was painful. However, it was God just taking my hands off of putting my faith in money and putting it onto him. And I remember the time that I looked up and I said, Lord, I'm going to follow you. You got my attention. I was putting my trust in money and not you. And he took my hands off of money and it was painful. However, it's freeing, and now I have a totally different perspective. It's like, when I do make money, and if it's plentiful, I'm very thankful and I appreciate it. I work hard for it. But if it, God gives and God takes. And, this time around, I vow to be a better steward, not put money a high priority.
Well, that's amazing to hear that first. Yeah, you came out of the league and you had more success outside, you know, and I'm sure a lot of the characteristics that you develop and fighting to stay in the league and on these different teams. I mean, I'm sure that adversity kind of just helps you deal with whatever situation that you face in business. It's like, all right, I've been fighting for my life this whole time playing.
Yeah.
And those same characteristics that carry over. So that's first and foremost very cool to hear. Because I think a lot of athletes were, you know, it's all in. I got to make it, or you know, it's a failure. When surely that's not the case. I mean,
No.
you can have so much more success out of the league. It's sports should be not the peak. You know, life should get better as you go on and you retire.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and my identity for a long time was NFL player, and I pride in that, and that was, you know, but you know, God is, hey, you're not a football player, you're someone I created, you know, and you know, and I'm to give him the glory and not to take the glory. And also football was humbling though. In the NFL, you know, San Diego State, you're 18 years old. I'm 198 pounds soaking wet. And I see these big dudes with beards, these offensive linemen. I'm thinking, wow, you know, how am I ever going to compete against them? And then, you know, you kind of grow into it. But there's always guys that are bigger, stronger, faster, younger,
Right.
season, whatever the case, there, you know, and that's what you get in college, you know, and then you get that in the NFL plentiful. And, you know, their talent is abundant. Even the best, you know, they got to be on their A game, or they're not gonna compete all that well. You know, you gotta, and so it keeps you humble, basically, you know, if you allow it to, and you know, getting knocked around and making sure that you gotta be on your A game. That's humbling. Seeing a guy that can run a 4.4 in your same position, that's humbling. You know, you can bench press 200 more pounds than you. That's humbling.
Right. Well, gosh, I mean, 2 tough jobs: playing in a league, owning a business. I'm sure the toughest job of all, though, is being a father to 4 boys, especially in this day and age. Talk to us.
Oh man, I have 4 boys, and
They're all close in age too, right?
They're all
17
different.
is the youngest,
Yeah.
and 22 is the oldest?
Yeah, 16, 17, 20, and 22.
Wow.
So I'm actually going to meet the 20 and 22-year-old. They're working for me a little bit, and in mortgage. I'm going to meet with them this morning. But so yeah, each of them have different personalities. They each need to be guided a little bit differently. But you know, I've gone soft on them and I've gone firm on them, and I could do either role pretty well. You know, I can enable them to, you know, make mistakes and to fess up to it, and, you know, give them the dignity to, you know, change when they're going to change, and not change because dad says you change now, you know. So the toughest part is just finding that balance between loving them gently and give them tough love, you know. And so, you know, I think we practice being parents because it's, you know, just like a doctor practices. It's tough. It's, no one size fits all, you know. So I'm a practicing father. I do make mistakes, but, you know, I hope at the end of the day they can see that I love them with all my heart, and I want their best, you know. So I think that wins them over more than anything.
So do any of your boys kind of gravitate towards your faith? And because I know in spending time with you now, we've been able to reconnect and do a lot of cool things together. It's very apparent how strong that is to you. How does that carry over to your boys?
You know, we've taken them to church our whole life, and so they have that background. But you know, they are. You don't really know until they get out of the household, you know, whether they're going to go to church on their own, or they're going to believe on their own, not just say, hey, yeah, I kind of believe this stuff. But, you know, so time will tell. I do see some positive things. I baptized my 20-year-old last year in school. He came forward. He was struggling with some things, and he said, Dad, you know, I'm struggling with certain things, and I knew what they were, and I said, hey, let's, you know, you're a chip off the old block, man. I've been there and done that. And I think it's important for dads to be vulnerable and open to their kids and let them know that, hey, I'm a sinner, saved by grace. I sin every day. And so it's important for them to know that and to understand that, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you turn to the Lord and he's going to bless you. And he's going to free you from the things that have you in bondage. And my son was, basically in bondage, just a few things. And I said, son, your time, and so he turned, and I baptized him in our swimming pool about a year ago.
Very cool. Well, I would like to wrap everything up by saying, and it was a pleasure having you join us in the locker room and hear from you. One thing that resonated to me was both football and in your story of your professional career. You idolize things outside of what you should be, and God just took it away. And amen, because I've experienced the exact same thing. I was struggling, and I kept asking for help and praying for help, but I was just praying for help, and I wasn't doing anything different. And so, if you're going to look to God for help, well, you better listen, because he's telling you, he's not going to say, hey, you got to do this. No, you got to listen to what's going on around you, because he's telling you. And if you don't listen, well, he'll just take it away.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not that money's bad, because it's not. And not having too much money is bad. It's not. That's not, and neither is loving and being compassionate about football. However, when I place those things above God,
right,
or place too much emphasis in it, then I can get in trouble.
That's it.
And so he took those down a little bit and showed me, hey, this is the proper perspective. Look to me, and then everything else follows.
Seek first the kingdom. Amen.
Seek first the kingdom. Yeah.
Right on. Hey, Brett.
Hey, guys.
Fellow Aztec, I love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Respect you, and I really appreciate your time. Hey, everybody, come check us out. Hey, come do your thing. Tell people where we are.
We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Make sure you check us out. Subscribe. Become a friend with us. Message us. Comment on the episode. Give us your insights. We want to hear from you guys, just as you're hearing from us. So this is a community, and we're trying to build something special here. So welcome, guys.
Right on. Hey, come back next week and be good teammates. Bye.